A very good evening, friends. Hope so I'm audible. Now, see, today the lighting is not so great. Yeah. Right, my dear friends. Now, when I just talk about today's class, somewhere is the continuation of the questions what we have been discussing previously. Okay. And before getting into the discussion part, just for your piece of information, July 31st, sociology optional subject batch is starting. So somewhere, if you are in need of the same, kindly you can make use of it. Okay, right. Right, my dear friends. Today, almost I have taken 6 questions for today's agenda. We'll try that how many questions qualitatively we'll try to cover it. Okay. And today's question I have just selected from natural resources and location of industries, the distribution of key natural resources and the location of industries as such. Okay. 3 paragraphs of geography syllabus we have. Excuse me. At least the one paragraph, right? Physical geography and say, for example, the important geophysical phenomena, natural hazards, we have discussed in detail. Okay. Right, my dear friends. Now, one by one. Right. Now, here, the very first question, what I'm just taking for today's discussion. With increasing demand for energy and with a fast depleting conventional source of energy, the non conventional source of energy is gaining importance. This is a statement. Okay. In the light of the above statement, discuss India's non conventional energy potential. Just give me a minute. So, source of energy is gaining importance. This is a statement. Okay. In the light. We're just checking the quality of the audio. That's it. Because I feel that more echo is here. Okay. Right, my friends. Now, discussing about this question, a statement is given. Somewhere we know that with increasing demand for energy and with a fast depleting conventional source of energy, the non-conventional source of energy is gaining importance. This is a statement, and of course, we know about it. So, what is the question they're asking? In the light of the above statement, discuss about India's non-conventional energy potential. So, crux of the question, somewhere I have to talk about India's potential in non-conventional energy resources. See, this non-conventional energy resources, my dear friends, sometimes I also call them as what? Renewable energy. But one small clarification, not necessarily that all non-conventional energy resources should be what? Renewable, right? The classification is different, right? When I talk about, say, for example, classification of this energy based on the technology what we use, we call them as what? Call them as conventional and non-conventional energy. On the other hand, if somewhere if we classify this energy based on the reusability nature of this energy, we call them as what? Renewable and non-renewable. So largely, this non-conventional energy resources and renewable energy resources, they overlap, but not necessarily that all non-conventional energy resources are renewable. For example, when I talk about atomic energy, my dear friends, atomic energy, I understand, my understanding says largely it is non-conventional energy resources, but atomic energy is not renewable. The spent fuel, I cannot use it again for, say, for example, the production of electricity as such. We do have an exception. Exception in the sense I do have an example which is non-conventional energy, but when it comes to, say for example, classification based on reusability, it may not be an example of renewable energy. We do have such examples. Okay, now, whatever it is the case, what is the demand of the question? Demand of the question is very simple. Somewhere I have to talk about this. India's non-conventional energy potential. See, two things are there. Potential is one, production is one. Potential is somewhere if you identify the availability of the resource and somewhere you project that what exactly is that energy that can be harnessed from these resources. We call them as what potential. Potential is more like an aspiration. Somewhere you know that okay, resource is there. Not necessarily potential talks about the utilization of the same, right? So potential is different, production is different. Okay, right, my dear friends. Now, potential is more like an estimate. Production is the actuals. Okay, right, my friends. But one thing we know, it is based on the potentials, targets are fixed. Okay, now though, what I have done in this question, say for example, somewhere I talked about the production as such. Potential, if numbers are very clear, and one more thing, let me tell you, before you go to the examination, kindly say for example, look for non-conventional energy production and non-conventional energy potential. This, say for example, question, I have given you the data of non-conventional energy production. Production I have used, potential I have used qualitative words. But actual figures, actual numbers I have not given it, right? But I have used qualitative words as such. Okay, wherever I can incorporate, I'll incorporate. But according to the books of datas, right? Potential production, I can give it. I have included data from PIB. The latest data, what PIB declares, say for example, as of February 2023, the data have been declared. February, March data has been declared. It means almost the last, say for example, almost the financial year, almost the last financial year, the concluded financial year, the data was given. And we'll talk about it. Okay. Now, trying to understand the somewhere, trying to address the question as such. So again, here I have not given the word limits. Depending upon the marks, let me decide the word limit. Right. Let me decide whether I have to write it in detail or somewhere superficial writing should be fine enough. Okay. Now, somewhere I'm trying to address the statement. With increasing demand for energy and with the fast depleting conventional source of energy such as coal, petroleum, natural gas, etc. See here, in this very first line, I am telling the examiner that I know what exactly is some of the very popular conventional source of energy is all about. Okay, right. The non-conventional source of energy, such as energy from the sun, solar energy, wind, biomass, tidal energy, geothermal energy. Even I can also include this word called as etc. And even energy from waste materials, right, are gaining importance. This energy is abundant, renewable, mostly it is pollution free and eco friendly. It is ecological friendly, environment friendly, right? That's one very, very important consolidation of this non conventional energy resources. See my difference. One is abundance. Solar energy is so abundant. Am I right? Not only being abundant, it is also what? Renewable. You can reuse it, right? Moreover, it is pollution free and very, very importantly, it is environment friendly. The carbon footprint, carbon emission will be very, very less when I just talk about this non-conventional energy resources as such. Okay, right. Right, my friends. Now, continuing further. In India, non-conventional energy resources consist of those energy sources that are, say for example, infinite, natural, restorable. Somewhere I am reiterating the similar sentence. For example, tidal energy, solar energy, wind energy, right? Or some of those non-conventional energy resources, which is very, very abundant. Okay, this is general information. Even if you want to avoid this paragraph, nothing wrong in it. Now, directly I'll go for this energy, right? I increase the number of dimensions, increase the number of, say, for example, examples of this non-conventional energy, mostly renewable energy. Number one, solar energy. See, my friends, I know some of the very important facts. India is a tropical country. Not only India is a tropical country, India is a founding member of International Solar Alliance, ISA, along with France, right? We are the founding member of this International Solar Alliance. It's a consortium of the countries which is located completely or partially in the tropical regions. So somewhere I understand it has an enormous possibility of tapping solar energy. Okay. Both way we can do. We can go for solar concentration, or we can also go for what? Photovoltaic technology conversion. We call them as what? PVCs, photovoltaic cells conversion. Right? Converts sunlight directly into what? Electricity. Directly. Solar energy is fast becoming popular in rural and remote areas. The largest solar plants every time, say for example, it keeps on changing, right? Let's leave it. It is expected that the use of solar energy will be able to minimize the dependence of rural household on food, right? Firewood, and say for example the dung cakes, which in turn will contribute to the environmental conservation and adequate supply of manure in agriculture. Okay, because say for example cow dung, largely you can use it as what? Manure, right? Why to burn it? As simple as this. Right, my friends, see here, now one very important facts. As of today, if I just talk about the different non-conventional energy resources, I have just given a, say for example, PIB source as well as the Wikipedia table I have just given it. This table is from Wikipedia. This is the PIB resource. PIB resource. Both this sentence, concluding sentence, are very, very important, but I am just taking it now just to tell you. See, for example, as of today, what exactly is the installed capacity of renewable energy, or maybe I use non-conventional energy resource in India is approximately 175 gigawatt. Okay, 170 gigawatt. I'll tell you. 2020, 2022, the target was set as 175, but what we have achieved. This achievement is very good, right? What we have as an installed capacity is 168.96, approximately 170 gigawatt of renewable energy production. Very, very important data, right? As on, as I already said, February, end of February 2023. This is PAB information. And see what is very, very important. In that 170, approximately 170, nearly 65 megawatt comes from solar power. Solar power is the single largest source of non-renewable energy in India. This data is very, very important. Followed by solar power, we have, say for example, even hydropower. If I just take it, small hydros potentially, I'm just talking about small hydros, not the large hydros as such, right? Nearly 51 gigawatts of hydropower we have, right? Followed by wind power, and say for example, right, somewhere around 10 gigawatt of, say for example, bio waste powers as such, or whatever it is, right? Bio waste power. So the point, what I'm just trying to say, though there are different sources of non-renewable energy, sorry, excuse me, renewable energy or non-conventional energy resources, the single largest source comes from what? Solar energy, right? Very, very important. Okay. So India being a tropical country, the solar potential is what? Very, very high. Solar potential is very, very high. And one more thing, where all I can have it, to the sentence, what I can add it, I'll tell you. Where all this solar production can be on a higher side, if you ask me, very simple. Generally in arid and semi-arid regions. Not necessarily it should be warm, right? Only thing is that I should have the availability of what? The sunlight. Arid and semi-arid region. That's the reason my difference. Desert regions, right? Desert regions becomes very, very important locations for what? Solar energy production. Even Ladakh. Ladakh is one of the very important location of solar energy production. So wherever I have arid and semi-arid, why I am saying arid and semi-arid? Because arid and semi-arid regions are drier. Why it is dry, if you ask me? Generally, the cloud cover in this region will be less. Okay. Okay. If at all, if the cloud cover is less, somewhere attainment of insolation will be more. If attainment of insolation is more, obviously solar energy production can be more. Right? Plateau interiors, semi-arid plateau interiors, Dandakaranya tableland, Chotanagpur plateau, Telangana plateau, Bastar plateau, right? Or say, for example, the drier regions of the Deccan plateau, the eastern side of Western Ghats, Desert regions of Rajasthan and Gujarat, Ladakh, all these regions has high potential for solar energy. Okay. Right, my friends. What is the installed capacity also? Capacity also I have just given it. Approximately, as of now, we have 65 gigawatt of solar energy that is being produced. Okay. Then comes what? Wind energy production. Wind energy. See, India almost ranks as wind superpower, right? Certainty of the wind in larger part of India is high. The largest wind farm cluster is located in Tamil Nadu, right? Apart from these, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Gujarat, Kerala, Maharashtra, even Rajasthan, right, have some important wind farms. Let me tell you, my dear friends, where all you'll be having wind farms, wherever certainty of the wind is higher, right? To be very precise, you'll be having it in coastal areas, because coastal areas every day I'll be having sea breeze and land breeze. Okay, and say for example, you will be having in mountainous regions, particularly foothills of the mountain. Because every day in mountainous region, I'll be having valley breeze and mountain breeze. Certainty of the wind is there. Apart from that, even deserts I'll be having. Deserts I'll be having. Reason, diurnal temperature variation in desert will be higher. So reversal of wind in desert will also be what? On a higher side. So normally, if you ask me where all I'll be finding, largely I'll be finding the wind mills of India. I'll be there in coastal areas. I'll be there in the foothills of the mountain. I'll be there in the desert. But only one challenge I have. Coastal areas, one challenge I have. What is the challenge I have? Particularly when I talk about the east coast of India is more prone to cyclones. Cyclones can damage the windmill as such, right? That's the reason, say, for example, normally right at the coast, it is somewhere avoided. Wherever there is a larger probability of having a landfall of cyclones, windmills is generally avoided. That is one challenge what we have. And mountainous region, if you ask me what exactly is the challenge, it is whether it is ecological friendly or not, somewhere, right? A limited amount of habitat destruction will be there. All adds to the cons of wind power that is being installed in what? The mountainous region. Right, my dear friends. Now, biogas, I have included biogas. Somewhere right up I have just given, right, how exactly this largely this biogas, say for example, is being produced. Shrubs, farm waste, animal and human waste are used to produce what? Biogas for domestic consumption, right? So decomposition of the organic matter yields gas, right? Somewhere I have just given the right up. Tidal energy, my dear friends. See, tidal energy potential and production is not universal. Why I'm telling you, for example, entire India's tidal energy production, if you ask me, potential, I call this potential. This potential roughly stands at 8,000, say for example, megawatt, right? It stands at 8,000 megawatt tidal energy production. Sorry, excuse me, potential. 8,000 megawatt. But interestingly, if I start adding all these individual places, I may get more than 8,000 megawatt. Somewhere I can get 8,300 megawatt also. So here, where exactly the potential is higher, if you ask me, there are few criteria. Number one, I should have shallow and extensive continental shelf, right? It should be shallow, it should be extensive, continental shelf should be there, right? It means it should have a broad extension, but it should also be what? Shallow, right? Number one. Number two, normally we say it should be there in the, right, say for example, enclosed northern basins. Enclosed northern basins. Northern basins. What is this enclosed northern basin? I'll tell you. For example, randomly, if I select any part of the ocean or a sea, randomly, any point, any place in the world, right? Assume that I'm just there in the tropical region, right? From there, tropical equatorial, wherever it is, somewhere I should place myself in what? Somewhere in the waters, ocean. As I start moving towards the north, what exactly is the land I encounter there? That is what I call them as what? enclosed northern basins. For example, if I just start my journey from Bay of Bengal, if I start traveling towards the north, right, the enclosed northern basins will be West Bengal, Bangladesh, etc. If you're there in Arabian Sea, and if I just do it right in the same way, right, Gujarat will be that enclosed northern basins. So where exactly the tidal energy potential will be higher? I've just given you two, say for example, criteria. One, shallow and extensive continental shelf. One is enclosed northern basins. So both, if I just take it, only two places are there in India which has higher tidal energy production and potential both. One is Gujarat coast. Number two, it is what? West Bengal, Sundarbans region. Again, if you ask me Gujarat, my friends, Gujarat has two Gulf, Gulf of Kutch and Gulf of Kambat. Okay. To be very precise, let me add it. When I talk about, say, for example, highest potential, when I talk about Gujarat, right? Short form, I'll write it. When I talk about, say, for example, Gulf of Kutch, Kutch Gulf has a potential of somewhere around 7,000 megawatt. 7,000 megawatt. Gulf of Cambay, right, or Gulf of Kambat, right, somewhere has a potential of 1,200 megawatt. And when I talk about, say, for example, West Bengal, the Sundarbans region, it has somewhere around 100 megawatt. That's the reason I said if you add all this, what I'll get is approximately 8,300 megawatt of what? Potential. In that potential, right, we have just installed somewhere around 900 megawatt of tidal plant, right? Say, for example, in Gulf of Kutch region, we have just somewhere installed it. This is the potential and production, both I have just given for tidal energy. Okay. See, tidal energy always, it is somewhere it is felt that tidal energy, given the environmental cost what tidal energy normally has, it should be kept as minimum as possible, right? We can concentrate more on, because somewhere I understand tidal energy production will be hampering the coastal ecosystem. Coastal ecosystem. Somewhere the sea wave intrusion, right? The riverine deposition, all this can be hampered whenever, say, for example, we have this tidal energy production. This is almost, say, for example, scaled up. Okay. Right. Apart from that, we have geothermal energy. What is this geothermal energy? Wherever we have these hot springs, wherever we have geysers, right? India do not have geysers, but India has what? Hot springs. So somewhere producing the energy, harnessing the energy from the, say, for example, warm waters of the hot springs. For example, we have hot springs in Manikaran, Himachal Pradesh, right? Ladakh, say for example, Uga Valley, we have a hot spring, right? All other these places we have plenty of hot springs as such. Himalayas has plenty of hot springs. Okay. And hot springs is not all about, say for example, warm waters that is coming to the surface. So using this hot waters or warm waters, somewhere if you produce electricity, harness energy, you call them as what? Geothermal energy. Right? Right, my friends. Roughly I have just given it, and very important, I have just given the target also. Target also, what is given in Wikipedia and the ministry's resource, both I have just given it. These data are very, very important, right? Not only for this question, for the examination, you can somewhere rely on these data. Number one, this is the potential, sorry, the production of the non-conventional energy resources as of today, right? Number two, what is the set target? If you ask me, government declares a plan of adding 50 gigawatt every, say for example, almost, right, annually for the next 5 years. If that is the case, somewhere by 2030, somewhere the target that was set was somewhere around 500 gigawatt. 500 gigawatt. Somewhere, if you are just achieving this 500 gigawatts, the share of non-conventional energy resource production will be surpassing the share of conventional energy potential and production. Okay, right. Right, my friends, this is all about the case with the first question. Okay. Now coming to the second question, my friends. Second question. Again, the second question is a very general question, not a specific question. Where I can talk about the structure, this particular structure I can use to write the answers for plenty of questions that's being asked. Okay. So what is this question? Why does large scale industries choose different locations? Simple. They're asking what are the factors which determine the location of industries? Why does large scale industry, forget about small scale industries? Why does large scale industries choose different locations? Okay, right. Right, my friends, here, introduction, if it is needed, you can go for it. Otherwise, directly you can start writing the answer as such. Industries maximizes the profit by reducing the cost. See, for example, always we say that entrepreneurs are economically rational beings. Somewhere, say, for example, they'll be trying to keep the production cost as minimum as possible. Now, if you ask me what are the different ways that production cost can be minimized, if you ask me, largely they'll be saving on transportation cost, right? Transportation cost, because I understand transportation cost will also be added to the cost of the product. Okay. In that way, my dear friends, industries, where exactly an industry should be set up, if you ask me, industry should be located at the point where the production cost are minimum. Where exactly the production cost is minimum, largely where the transportation cost becomes what? Minimum. Okay. So the underlying point, industries has to be located in a place where the production cost should be minimum. All factors taken together, the cost of production of a single unit should be as minimum as possible. Okay. Now, of course, largely factor number one, two, and three all will be somewhere talking about the transportation cost. Okay, one by one. Number one, my difference. Order, you can change it. Okay, order, you can change it. Access to the market. Okay, I'll just give you a superficial idea. Towards the end of this question, I have just given you the superficial structure. Factors influencing the location of industries. The same thing, whatever the question was demanding. There can be geographical factors. There can be non-geographical factors. See, what are the geographical factors? Access to the raw material, access to the market, transportation cost. Because see, any industries you take it, they'll be having, say, for example, almost it will be depending on a place of mix. It will be depending on raw material. So where exactly you have a raw material? Where exactly you have the market to sell this finished goods? Somewhere I have to take it. And I have to talk about, say, for example, right? If I just talk about, say, for example, these industries as such, okay? Somewhere this industry should be set up in such a way that transportation cost should also be what? Then what else you have? Say, for example, uninterrupted and cheap power should be there. Availability of labor, the two skilled labor should be there. There are industries which is water intensive, so the availability of the water should be there. Site means is the cost of the land. The cost of the land should be minimal, so that only thing is that only then industries can survive. Climate also plays a very, very important climate. For example, if you ask me cotton textile industry, climate play a very important role. ITES companies, climate play a very important role. Okay. So somewhere I understand, say for example, climate also, few industries it plays a very, very important role. Non-geographical factors, capital, the possibility of having a capital, right? Capital is more like investment. Government policies, for example, the second 5 year plan, we call them as what? Mahalanobis model. Where, say, for example, almost bringing up of industry is somewhere given the larger focus. Somewhere they focused on the trickle down effect, top down approach. Top down approach, where if at all if industry is set up in such a way or one place, somewhere it is assumed, somewhere it is, right? Almost aspired or anticipated that, say, for example, the surrounding regions itself, this industry will what? It will give more of job opportunities, right? A spillover effect will be there. It is seen as what? Growth tools, right? So government policies also play a very, very important role in determining the location of industries as such. Industrial inertia. What is this industrial inertia? Sometimes we also call them as what? Geographical inertia. For no reasons, I will be finding one industry there. Cluster, not one single industry. Cluster of industries. Almost say, for example, these industries will be of similar type, right? Industrial inertia means, say, for example, somebody would have started an industry. somewhere. And say, for example, maybe that can be because of a different reason, right? Maybe, say, for example, it not necessarily it should be geographical, right? It can be emotional also. For example, it can be my native, it can be some very important location as such, right? So somewhere you're bringing one industry of that kind. So slowly, steadily, the related industries will start growing. You call them as what? Industrial inertia. Banking facilities, insurance also plays a very, very important role in somewhere determining the locational aspect of industries as such. Whatever I have just given here as a skeletal structure, this is what I have discussed in detail. Okay, right. One, access to the market. See the existence, right? When talk about the existence of a market for manufactured goods is the most important factor of the location of industries. Because I understand any finished product you have to sell it in the market. Obviously, where exactly market is located, that is very, very important because I cannot manufacture and keep it for myself. Okay. What is a market? I understand, right? Market means the place where you have people who have a demand for the goods and who also have a purchasing power or ability to purchase. Okay. And be able to purchase from the seller at a place. Okay. Whatever it is the case, right? So wherever, whichever location, I have a group of people where there is a demand and who has a purchasing power capacity. You call them as a market. Okay. So the developed regions will be a larger market, a developing region will be a small market. That's what largely we have an idea, right? What exactly is a market we have? So most of the industries, my dear friends, I'll tell you, right? Most of the industries you'll be finding they are located very near to the market, very near. For example, if you ask me automobile industries, they are located very near to the market. They are more like market-oriented industries. Even cotton is actually not market-oriented industry, but somewhere I understand cotton. Gujarat and Maharashtra I have more of cotton textile industries. Somewhere I understand Gujarat and Maharashtra itself is what? A market for these products, right? See, cotton textile industry is neither a market oriented industry nor a raw material oriented industry. But still, somewhere I understand, say, for example, Gujarat and Maharashtra region itself is what giving you that access of market, right? Proximity to the market is very, very important depending upon the type of the produced, right? Or the manufactured product as such. Number one, very, very important, equally important. This should have been factor number one, access to the raw material, right? Access to the raw material. See, for example, raw material itself, actually, you have three types of raw material. One, we call them as what? Weight losing raw material, weight gaining raw material. See, weight gaining raw material is very theoretical. Okay, weight gaining. That's with the star mark I'm giving it. Number one, you call them as what? Pure raw material. And neither it gains weight nor it loses a weight. Okay. So weight losing means what? Every process, every time when this raw material is being processed, I'll start losing its weight. For example, sugar refineries, if I just take it, 100 tons of sugar cane somewhere, if I'm just crushing it, what I'll be getting is only 10 to 12 tons of sugar, refined sugar. It means nearly 90 percentage is what? Somewhere I can say it is a residue or wastage. But of course, I cannot exactly claim it as wastage because, say, for example, bagasse and molasses, you use it for, say, for example, molasses, maybe you use it for what? Alcohol manufacturing, right? When I talk about bagasse, bagasse is used for what? Paper manufacturing industries. So somewhere, most of the, say, for example, the bioproducts, it's not completely wasted. Say, for example, it is going for, right, its own value addition, it finds it. But when I talk about sugar industries as such, given the nature, I understand it is weight losing raw material. Iron and steel industries, right? Somewhere I understand, say, for example, it is a weight losing raw material. That's what, say, for example, it is given, right? Steel, sugar, even cement industries, they are weight losing raw material. So every time you process it, you will be losing the weight, right? More impurities will be there, right? This weight losing raw material, sometimes you also call them as what? Impure raw material. You call them as what? Impure raw material. So if I have a raw material which is more impure, which is weight losing in nature, These industries, you will be finding a pattern that they'll be located near the place of raw material itself. You'll be finding it, right? Near the place of raw material. Okay. Iron and steel industries. Why exactly it is located? Largely, it is located in Chotanagpur Plateau, if you ask me, because Chotanagpur Plateau is the place where I have iron ore that is being, say, for example, largely available. Not only iron ore, say, for example, this is a place where you also find what this bituminous coal or Gondwana coal, which happens to be another raw material for iron and steel industries. Okay. That's the reason, say, for example, when I talk about sugar canes or sugar refineries, normally you'll be finding sugar refineries are located, will be located normally where you have normally the practice of farmers will be going for what? The sugar cane cultivators. Okay. Right, my dear friends. You call them as what? Weight losing industries. Weight losing industries, such industries will be located very near to the place of raw material. Sometimes you also call them as what? Raw material oriented industry. Then I was talking about the second type, you remember? To be very precise, third type, pure raw material. Pure raw material is that raw material which neither loses weight nor gains weight. If you ask me, give me an example of it, I would say cotton. Actually speaking, cotton can be located anywhere. It can be located anywhere, but cotton neither loses weight nor it gains weight. Cotton is a pure raw material, but still, both it's satisfying. Just now I told you, right? Maharashtra and Gujarat is more like a market. On the other side, the industries of Maharashtra and Gujarat, I understand, they are also co-terminus with the cotton growing track in India. Okay, access to the raw material. And my dear friends, the structure of answer you can use it for any question that is asked regarding the locational aspect of industries as such. Okay, then access to the labor supply. See, when I talk about labor supply, what should be the nature of this labor supply? I'll tell you. Number one, labor should be skilled labor, right? Number two, labor should be cheap labor. Am I right? Number three, for industrial perspective, you should be surplus labor, right? You should have a surplus labor, you should have a skilled labor, you should have a cheap labor, right? See, not necessarily that all three combinations comes together. This three combination is a very rare combination because skilled may not be generally cheaper. But somewhere I'm just talking about the sustainability because labor cost is also one very important cost in determining the price of the commodity. Okay, right. Now, access to the energy, source of energy, power. Two things has to be there with respect to power. Number one, power should again be cheap. Number two, power should be uninterrupted, right? It should be uninterrupted, right? Both the cases I have to take it. It should be cheap power. It should be uninterrupted power. Both you have to consider. Okay. Access to source of energy. Okay. Then comes access to transportation and communication facilities. See, normally you'll be finding this industrial corridor. Normally they say if you have a well-developed road, along the road there comes the development, there comes the industries. Right? You have dedicated freight corridors. You have, say, for example, almost dedicated roadways, almost say, for example, plays a very, very important role. They act as a right growth creators of the country, right? Transportation plays a very, very important role, and communication also plays a very, very important role, particularly when I talk about, say, for example, industries that is more like ITES companies or ITES companies, industries, information technology enabled services industries, communication plays a very, very important role. Then already we discussed about this fact. Government policies, right? You have regional policies, you have the national policies, whatever it is the case. As I already told, even the second 5-year plan played a very important role in setting up some of the very important industries, right? Is seen as a process by which regional development will be created. Okay. Access to agglomeration economies links between industries. For example, if you have a group of companies in a single region, which is more interdependent, locating an industry in that region becomes more feasible, right? Because the availability of the raw material, the interdependency, right? Or say, for example, almost saving transport, sorry, excuse me, saving on transport all becomes what? Very, very vital. Okay. Right, my friends. These are some of the factors which determines the location of any large scale industries. That's what the question is. What is the question? They have asked, why does large scale industries choose different locations? Okay. Right, my friends. Now, two questions we have discussed. Moving on to the third question, very specific. Discuss about the spatial pattern of iron and steel industry in India. See, the question number two, we have discussed about the general structure. Out of that, whatever is the factors that I can take it and I can consider it as a factor somewhere determining the location aspect of iron and steel industry, I can take it. I can talk about raw material, I can talk about market, I can talk about transport, I can talk about availability of power, I can talk about site cost, I can talk about availability of labor, etc. Right? So all the industries I can have it as a somewhere standardized format. Okay. Right, my friend. So discuss about the spatial pattern of iron and steel industry in India. Okay, now iron and steel industry in India. Okay, iron and steel industry is a basic industry, and its products serve as a raw material for a number of other industries. It's a very right. The iron and steel industry, what exactly say, for example, it produces that finished good itself is somewhere taken for plenty of other industries. Okay. Although iron and steel manufacturing activity in India is very, very old, modern iron and steel industry India started with an establishment of Bengal Iron and Steel Works, right? Way back in 1817. Almost, say, for example, nearly 200 years of modern iron and steel we have. When talk about, say, for example, in the modern times, right? Say, for example, in the 20th century, Tata Iron and Steel Industry was set up at Jamshedpur. This is the most successful, right? It's the first successful iron and steel industry that was set up, right? TISCO, right? Tata Iron and Steel Company that was established in Jamshedpur in 1907, right? And say, for example, Indian Iron and Steel Plant, Burnpur, in 1919 it was set up, okay? Right, madam. So all the plants, what we have just taken as an example, they are private sector firms, okay? The first public sector iron and steel industry was set up in, say, for example, Karnataka. It is called as Vishveshwaraya Iron and Steel Works, or sometimes earlier, either we used to call it as Bhadravati Steel Plant, or we call them as what? Mysore Steel Plant. It was known by different names. Okay, right. Way back in 1923, near this Bhadravati River, it was established. Right, my friends. Now talking about the spatial extent, the iron and steel industry made rapid progress after independence. The production capacity has increased in all existing units. Three new integrated steel plants were established at Rourkela, Bhilai, and Durgapur. Right? And my friends, Bokaro Steel Plant was established under public sector in 1964. Okay. Bokaro and Bhilai plants was set up with the collaboration of former Soviet Union, that is USSR. Okay. Whereas when I talk about Durgapur Steel Plant was set up with collaboration of UK, and Rourkela was set up with the help of Germany. Okay. And Vishakhapatnam Steel Plant and Salem Steel Plant were set up at the later stages as such. Now, this one fact I have just added from PAB, the last sentence I've added from PAB, right? Very, very important. Why I'll tell you. Because at the time of independence, that is not so important, right? India produced only a small quantity of iron and steel. Production of finished steel in the country was only somewhere around 10 lakh tons. 10 lakh tons, I'll put it as what? 1 million ton. It is only 1 million ton. Right at the time of independence, what we were producing is only 1 million ton. Okay. So slowly and steadily, this, okay, to be very precise, one small clarification I have not taken from PIB. This source is given in Wikipedia. Okay. According to India's total installed steel making capacity as of today, or the latest information, March 2023, it stands at 154 million metric tons of production. Time of independence, it was only 10 lakh. 10 lakh is nothing but what? 1 million ton. From 1 million ton, right? Nearly, say, for example, 154 million ton we have achieved today. Okay, that's a rate at which the production has increased. Okay. Right, my dear friends. Now, what are the major iron and steel plants of India and where exactly it is located? Obviously, I understand, right? Iron and steel industry, maybe I can set up it as more like raw material oriented industry. Wherever I have more of raw material, that is iron ore, not only iron ore is one, availability of coal is two. Okay. So, major iron and steel industry are set up in the state of Jharkhand, adjoining West Bengal, adjoining Odisha, adjoining Chhattisgarh. All this region, if you ask me what exactly is common, it is Chota Nagpur Plateau. Right, Chota Nagpur Plateau. West Bengal side, it is Rajmahal Hills. Orissa, it is, say for example, almost Garjat Hills. Chhattisgarh, it is Ramgarh Hills. Right? Somewhere I understand, right? The northern parts of Chhattisgarh, I have Ramgarh Hills. The southern parts of Chhattisgarh, I have Bastar and Dandakaranya tablelands. Okay. So all these are part and parcel of this Chotanagpur Plateau, right? Which itself is part of this Archean system, which is known for metalliferous minerals. Apart from that, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu are other examples. Okay. So besides the major one, there are about 200 mini steel plants in India, right? So mostly these mini steel plants, my dear friends, they'll be producing steel from scrap material or sponge iron, right? Mostly, say for example, they'll be recycling the iron as such. So these units constitute important component of iron and steel industry in country as such. Okay. Now, as I already said, most of the steel plants in India are located around what? Chota Nagpur Plateau. Because Chota Nagpur Plateau, my friends, it is not only endowed with rich deposit of iron ore, as I already said, it is also known for what? Coal. Jharkhand, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, Odisha alone accounts for more than 80 percentage of the entire country's coal deposit. Okay. If that is the case, this is the belt near to it where I also have what? The coal fields. Okay. Now, my friends, talking about the locational aspect of this industry, right? Largely, iron and steel industries. Number one, you know the fact the nature of this raw material. I understand they are weight losing raw material. So, generally, because given the nature it is weight losing, these raw materials, sorry, these industries are located near the place of raw material itself. So the transportation cost can be minimized. Then, as I already said, it is raw material oriented industry for the simple reason it is weight losing in nature. Okay. What are the raw materials that is needed for this iron and steel industry? As I already said, basic raw materials are coal and iron. So where you will be having the locational aspect. And talk about the locational aspect, number one, it will be near the coal fields. It will be near the coal fields. Number two, it will be near the place where exactly I have this iron ore and mining center. Number three, or I can have a location where it is placed between the place where I have coal and iron. It's more like an industrial locational triangle, right? Say for example, assume this is the market. This is the market. This is raw material one. Say for example, this is iron ore. This is raw material two. Say for example, this is coal. Either I can have it here, or I can have it here, or I can have it anywhere between the place of raw material that is coal and iron ore. Wherever I can have these industries, I can set it out. Okay. Right, my friends. Now, apart from that, as I already said, mini steel plants to be very precise, use of scrap raw material and agglomeration economies have resulted in market-oriented location. It means near the place of cities itself I will be having. Because that's a place where you collect, say for example, large amount of scrap material, right? You recycle it. After is a market-oriented location itself we have it. Okay. Now here I have just given you the spatial distribution of some very important steel plants, major steel plants in India. As I already said, Bhilai, Chhattisgarh, Rourkela, Odisha, Jamshedpur, Bokaro. It is given as though it is Bihar, it is Jharkhand, Burnpur and Durgapur of, say for example, West Bengal. Bhadravati Steel Plant, Vishveshwaraya Steel Plant or Mysore Steel Plant, Karnataka, and Vishakhapatnam Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited. Vishakhapatnam, see, Vishakhapatnam, why all of a sudden? Vishakhapatnam is an exception if you ask me why. Because this is the only port oriented large scale iron and steel industry in India. Why port oriented? Because it largely depends on imported iron and imported coals. Okay. Salem steel plant, again, this is one small location where you find some iron ores near to it. Okay. Salem steel plant. These are some very important. Otherwise, others are administrative regions. For example, SAIL, Corporate Office Delhi, Tata Steel Mumbai. These are administrative locations. We are not worried about it. Okay. So largely, I understand my difference. They are located in and around Chotanagpur Plateau and in and around Bastar Plateau. Bhatravati is one isolated location. Salem Steel Plant of Tamil Nadu is one isolated. Vishakhapatnam Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited is more dependent on imported high quality raw materials. Okay. So somewhere I have just given you the larger idea of spatial distribution of iron and steel industry in India. Okay. Okay. Analyze the location. Next question. Analyze the location, distributional pattern, and problems of cotton textile industry in India. See, within one single question, see how many questions are there. Number one, analyze the location. That is one part. Number two, distributional pattern is second part. This one and two, there is a chance that I can couple it and I can write it. Instead of giving a separate heading, even if you want to give a separate heading, you're most welcome. Or you can always say, for example, you have to justify that where all I will be having cotton textile industries. Why exactly we had this location that is being selected? Both I have to justify side by side. Both ways accepted. Then I have a separate part of this question that has to be answered. Problems. Problems of cotton textile industries. Okay. What exactly is the problems? It can be anything, not only geographical, it can be political, whatever it is the case, socio-economic, whatever it is the case. Okay. Right, first, my dear friends, as I already said, first we'll just try to discuss about the location and distribution of cotton textile industry. Then we'll talk about the problems. See, first, cotton textile industry, my dear friends, or cotton. If you ask me what kind of raw material is cotton, cotton belongs to this pure raw material. Now, what is this pure raw material? Neither it is weight losing nor it is weight gaining. You call them as what? Pure raw material. Okay. You call it as a pure raw material. So, what is the idea here? Cotton textile industries can be set up anywhere between the location of market and the place of raw material. Transportation cost will not change irrespective of the location of this industry. Okay. Either I can set it near the place of the market, or I can set it near the place of the raw material, or I can set it anywhere between them. It is not going to change the transportation cost. Okay. But whatever it is the case, right? If you ask me what is the place where exactly I'll be having raw material, where exactly cotton can be grown, if you ask me, first I'll talk about raw material. So it is not naturally available. Nature has to process it. Okay. So where exactly I'll be having this cotton raw material, where cotton can be grown, if you ask me, normally it says cottons require very high temperature. I'll take this word back, very high. High temperature. So let it be tropical It can also be subtropical, nothing wrong. But largely it is tropical variety. Okay, cotton is tropical. That's the reason. See, for example, cotton, I cannot categorize cotton as Kharif, Rabi, Zaid, or anything else. But still, cotton, because it needs high temperature, we sometimes call it as Kharif crop. Right? Light rainfall. Light rainfall. Say, for example, best suited is what? Semi-arid. Light rainfall. Okay. And 210 frost-free days. 210 at least. I should add this word called as what? At least. At least 210 frost-free days has to be there. And plenty of sunlight should be there. Okay. So all given factors, somewhere cotton is largely confined to the tropical regions, right? Which is not wet, right? Tropical region which is not wet. Comparatively, the tropical region which is comparatively drier. Okay. And my dear friends, black soil and even alluvial soils are best suited for growing cotton. Black soil, I'll just take it. If you ask me, black soil, my difference, black soil is sometimes also called as what? Black cotton soil. The name itself says it is called as what? Black cotton soil. So name signifies that it is known for cotton cultivation. Sometimes Indian context we also call them as what? Regur soil. We call them as what? Regur soil. Okay. And where I'll be having black soil, if you ask me, wherever you have a lava plateau, wherever you have basaltic rocks, wherever you have volcanic features, there all you might have this black soil. So if you ask me, okay, give me an example of a lava plateau, I would give an example of Deccan Trap, not Deccan Plateau, Deccan Trap. The northwestern part of Deccan Plateau, I have this Deccan Trap, right? Now see, you remember we talked about Maharashtra. Somewhere I said the textile industries of Maharashtra and Gujarat, they are located near the market. That is okay. But apart from that, nearly 80 percentage, they are also co-terminus with the cotton growing tract in India. Black soil belt. See, black soil has a capacity to retain moisture for a very long time because it is normally located in drier regions. So at least soil should have more capacity to retain moisture. Right? Right, my dear friends. Now, where exactly cotton is mostly grown? Deccan Plateau. To be very precise, I said it is Deccan Trap. Deccan Trap. Excuse me. Right. Now, as we already discussed, as I already said, there is neither loss nor there is a gain in the net weight of the raw material for cotton. That's the reason we said that cotton belongs to what is pure raw material. Hence, industries can be placed anywhere between raw material and market. So, what are the other factors which will be determining, if you ask me? Other factors like transportation cost, market, cheap labor, electricity, etc., becomes very, very important factors. One by one, my difference, right? Every factor I have just analyzed as factors affecting the location or influencing location. Raw material. Example, Maharashtra and Gujarat both are located near what? The black soil belt of India. Then proximity to market. Uttar Pradesh, here also I'll include Maharashtra and Gujarat. Again, they are market itself. A very important climate. Moist weather is needed for cotton fiber. Not the place of growth, but the place of industries. Right? What you need in the place of industries, humidity should be higher. Humidity. Why? Because when the humidity is higher, the cotton thread will absorb more moisture, so it will not break. If humidity is less, the cotton threads will start breaking. That's the reason. Even in Maharashtra and Gujarat, you'll be finding most of the cotton textile industries, Ahmedabad, Mumbai, etc. They are located along the coastal margins because humidity should be on a higher side. Capital and investment facility, general fact. Skilled and cheap labor, general fact. Right? Transportation, already I said cheap transportation. Very good. What is very, very important? The proximity to the seaport. Maharashtra, we have two international ports. Gujarat, we have one major port, right? Maharashtra, two major port, and Gujarat, one major port. Somewhere I understand. These are the ports from where the textiles are even being exported, okay, right, to the other countries as such. And adequate networks between mills, handloom unit, and cooperative societies should also be there, right? Some of the examples I have just given it. Okay, now when I talk about the geographical location, my dear friends, it is highly, say, for example, distributed, highly distributed. But if I just talk about the large scale mills, then only, say, for example, few very important location I have to mention it separately. For example, Maharashtra. Maharashtra is the leading producer of cotton textile in India. You know that Mumbai, it's called as Cottonopolis of India, right? And some of the regions where in Maharashtra I have this cotton textile industries apart from Mumbai, I have just added it. Number two, Gujarat. Gujarat is the second largest producer of cotton textile after Maharashtra. Very important fact. Maharashtra followed by Gujarat. Ahmedabad is called as Manchester of, okay, if not Manchester of India, I use this, forget about this Manchester of India. It's called as Boston of the East. Okay. And it is also the second largest center of cotton textile industry after Mumbai. Right. So Gujarat, other locations also I have just given it. Two very important locations, Maharashtra, Gujarat. Apart from that, I can also talk about Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu, particularly when I talk about Coimbatore. Coimbatore is called as Manchester of the South, right? It is called as Manchester of the South. See, Coimbatore is more known for yarn production or yarn manufacturing. Yarn is more like the threads what you have. Okay. And other locations, it is highly distributed. No need to take it separately, right? If I can mention about Maharashtra, if I can mention about Gujarat, if I can mention about Tamil Nadu, my answer is near complete. Right, my friends. Other regions, not very important. Superficially, I can add the names of it. Now, trying to answer the second part of the question. Problems of cotton textile industries in India. Any industry you take it in India, there is always a problem. Okay. Okay. Now, some of the very important, okay, very prominent problems, if I just take it. Although cotton textile is one of the most important industries in India, it suffers from many problems. Some of the very important problems are briefly described here. Number one, scarcity of raw material. See, for example, raw cotton. I'll tell you. When I talk about cotton, there are three types of cotton: long staple cotton, medium staple cotton, and short staple cotton. Long, medium, and short and all, it depends on the length of the thread. If it is long enough, I call them as what? Long staple cotton. 3 inches, 4 inches, somewhere around 2 inches, I'll be calling it as somewhere medium staple, right? Short staple cotton. Now here, high quality textile industries need long staple cotton, and generally long staple cottons are not cultivated in India. Mostly this long staple cotton growing areas are there in Pakistan. That too, say for example, mostly it start means Indian cotton textile industry suffered a loss as a result of partition because of most of the long staple cotton growing areas went to what? Pakistan. Because this long staple cotton today largely we imported. Okay. So although much headway has been made to improve the production of raw cotton, its supply has fallen short of the demand. Consequently, much of the long staple cotton procurements are met by restoring imports from where? Kenya, USA, etc. Okay. So that raw material, there is a problem. Number two, obsolete machineries. Not only here, most of the industries what we have, most of the textile mills are very old and obsolete. Resulted in low productivity and inferior quality, right? And see, in developed countries, the textile machinery is installed even 10 to 15 years ago has been outdated and obsolete. Whereas India, somewhere around 60 to 75 percentage of machineries is, say for example, is somewhere around is 3 decades old. Okay, obsolete machinery, outdated machinery, we call them as what? Obsolete machinery. Number two, erratic power supply. Erratic power supply. And see, this power demand is not constant. Depending upon the seasons, the power demand will what? Fluctuate. Okay. So erratic power supply, particularly for cotton textile industry, is also a very big problem. Not only erratic, right? It should also be what? Sustainable and cheap. See, if you remember, we talked about energy security. What is energy security? Uninterrupted supply of energy at an affordable cost. You call them as what? Energy security, right? Two things are there. One is uninterrupted. Number two, at affordable price. Both has to be there. Power should be continuous and it should be a cheap and affordable power. Low productivity of the labor is also one more factor, right? Labor productivity in India is extremely low as compared to some of the other advanced countries. Strike, trade unions, right? Also, large textile industries largely suffer because of what? The trade unions and strikes as such. Competition, stiff competition. Indian cotton textile industries has to suffer from competition, right? Which is, say, for example, originating from the power loom, etc., and synthetic fibers, and not only that, even from the adjoining, say, for example, neighbors. Chinese growth is also somewhere seen as the threat to every industry in India. Then we have the problem of sick mills. Most cotton mills in India have become sick due to some of the above problems what we have mentioned, right? Unless further investment comes in, and say for example there is a technology transfer and more of R&D, right? Rejuvenation of cotton textile industries will become what? Very, very difficult. Okay, so these are some of the problems, right? What we have with respect to what? Cotton textile industry. Okay, right. Going to the next question. Question number 5. Bring out the locational aspect of information technology enabled services, ITES sector in India. See here, somewhere I'm talking about, say, for example, ITES sectors concentrated in India. And I should understand, say, for example, when I talk about ITES companies, actually speaking, they are footloose industries. Footloose industries. The location aspect or locational aspect of industry is not so particular. They do not have anything called as raw material. Human minds, human resources, the raw material. Okay, it is more like a service industry. Though I call it as a service industries, when it comes to the location, it is called as footloose industry. What is footloose industries? These industries can be set anywhere. Location of raw material, location of the market is immaterial because there is no transportation cost involved. Even if it is a manufacturing industry, footloose industries are those industries where transportation cost will be minimal, very minimal. You'll be having a fixed transportation cost. Whether you transport it for a very small distance or a large distance, variation in the transportation cost may not be that great. Such industries, we call them as what? Footloose industries, pharmaceutical industry, diamond polishing industries, silicon chip manufacturing industries, mobile assembling industries, even ITES. These are some of the classical example of footloose industries. Anywhere you can set up. See, one greatest advantage is there for footloose industries. Footloose industries because it somewhere evades, or say for example, somewhere the locational factors are not much of importance. Locational aspect may not majorly determine the location of industries. They can be set up anywhere. Because of this factor, my dear friends, ITES companies are seen as a growth pole, growth centers, and growth points of plenty of places. Nowadays, say for example, the concept of rural ITES companies started. Right. Earlier also we had these rural BPOs. Right. Now, say for example, there are, say for example, fortune companies also somewhere they started shifting their pace to what? The rural areas. They start operating from the rural areas. If not the rural areas, they operate from the tier 2 and tier 3 cities of India. Okay. Right. Now talking about this ITES companies, my friends. The question says bring out the locational aspect of ITES sector in India. Okay. Some basic information I have just given it. The information technology industries deals in the storage, processing, and distribution of information. Today, this industry has become global. Yes, we know. This is due to a series of technological, political, and socio-economical events and advancement. The main factors guiding the location of these industries are resource availability. See, when I say resources, this resource can be human resource. This resource can also be what? Capital, right? Not the raw material as such, because we do not have that much of raw material. Okay. Cost, maybe I can take it as capital, and of course, infrastructure. Again, infrastructure, I can take it for the capital as such. And not only the infrastructure of the company, infrastructure of that particular place also plays a very, very important role. Okay. Now, here, my dear friends, there are some of the major hubs of IT industries in the world globally, if you ask me. Silicon Valley of California and Bengaluru. Bengaluru is also one very important IT hub of the world. See, I talk about Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is part of Santa Clara Valley, right? Located along the western side of USA, very near to this Rocky Mountains or Western Cordillera in California. Okay. And see, if you ask me, okay, what is the reason why exactly it has eventually become a Silicon Valley? Why exactly companies are so dominant there? If you ask me, very mild temperature. See, they say the area has a temperature or temperate climate, with the temperature rarely dipping below 0 degrees centigrade. Even during summers, it is not very warm. It's not very, very hot. Right? Winters, certainly speaking, it is not very cold. My dear friends, the same reason. What is the reason why exactly the Silicon Valley has become one very important location of the ITS company? I understand it is the same reason why Bengaluru also eventually has become what? Very important location. Climate. Climate played a very, very important role. Okay. So Bengaluru is located on the Deccan Plateau, from where it gets the name called as what? Silicon Plateau. You don't call it as a Silicon Valley, you call them as what? Silicon Plateau. The city is known for its mild climate throughout the year. Throughout the year. Summers are not very hot, winters are not very cold. Right? Exactly opposite to the northern plains of India. So when you talk about Delhi, Delhi summers are very hot, winters are very cold. Okay. Somewhere Bengaluru, because it is a plateau region, the mild nature of the climate, weather is somewhere retained throughout the year. There are other emerging information technology hubs in the other parts of India. What are they? Mumbai, New Delhi, Hyderabad, Chennai, even Pune, I can take it. Pune, Thiruvananthapuram, I have just given it. Other cities such as Gurugram, Gurgaon. See, Gurugram or Gurgaon, I can take it as the extension of Delhi. Though it is not NCT, right? National Capital Territory. When talk about, say, for example, Gurugram, along with Noida, it comes under larger NCR, National Capital Region. NCT is political, NCR is economical in nature. Okay. We have the sphere of influence. You call it as a sphere of influence. Gurugram, Pune, Trivandrum, Kochi, even Chandigarh, also some of the very important IT hubs of this country. However, Bangalore has always the unique advantage as a city with the highest availability of middle and top management talents. Okay. Because somewhere the city has attracted. How much, if you ask me, Bengaluru itself contributes somewhere around more than 35 to 40 percentage of entire IT industries of India. Nearly 35 percentage of companies are somewhere located. More than one third of the companies are located in one single city. Okay, right. Now talking about, say, for example, these major information technology hubs. As I already said, Bangalore is known as Silicon Valley. If not Silicon Valley, I can take the Silicon Plateau, whatever it is the case of India. And it is the IT capital of India. Right? It is considered to be the global information technology hub. And it is also India's largest exporter both of IT overall and software. Okay. And some of the very important top IT service providers, by reference, Infi, Infosys, Wipro, Mindtree, right? N number. You just give an example, you find it, right? They have their headquarters in what? Bengaluru. As I already said, Bengaluru alone accounts for more than 35 percentage of all IT companies present in India, making it India's largest IT contributor. Right? Apart from Bengaluru, what are the other places I can take it? Hyderabad. Hyderabad is known as high-tech city or cyber city. Right? It's a major global information technology hub and the largest bioinformatic hub in India also. Hyderabad has emerged as the second largest city in the country for software export. Say, for example, almost pipping the competitors of Chennai and Pune. So it is the site of first Microsoft Development Center in India, which is also Microsoft's largest software development center outside its headquarters, right? In Seattle, USA, right? It has also many IT industries. Some of the names of industries I have just mentioned. Okay. And Hyderabad is the largest Deloitte hub of India, right? Right, my dear friends. Bangalore we talked about, Hyderabad we talked about. Apart from that, what are the other places? Pune. Pune is one of the leading Indian and international IT services and outsourcing exporters. Chennai. Chennai has a world-class IT infrastructure. Particularly when I talk about, say, for example, the dedicated express IT way. IT way, or you call them as what? Say, for example, OMR, right? It's called as Old Mahabalipuram Road. It is called as IT Expressway. IT Expressway. Nearly, say, for example, 40 kilometers, nearly 40 kilometers of a stretch. We have plenty of, say, for example, IT hubs of, say, for example, IT hubs are located in, say, for example, one this IT Expressway itself. And many IT parks promoted by both government agencies, right? Very powerful government agencies, efficient government agency called as headquarters there, right? And the city's strong industrial base also favors the establishment of many R&D centers in its vicinity, right? And apart from Chennai, Mumbai, Mumbai is headquarters of India's largest IT company, that is TCS, Tata Consultancy Service. And of course, it is also head of, say, for example, other companies as such. NCR, when I talk about NCR, as I already said, it includes Delhi, it includes Gurugram or Gurgaon, it includes Faridabad, it includes Noida, it includes Ghaziabad, right? Which are the cluster of software development with offices of many multinational companies and corporations, right? And see Gujarat, which includes Ahmedabad, Vadodara, etc. Tamil Nadu, apart from Chennai, right? Coimbatore, Madurai, etc. Tier 2 cities also, it is almost becoming what? The development center. See, nowadays, we find a trend that IT companies are moving towards the rural areas. First, say for example, people, or say for example, the resources will be migrating to the place where you have this IT hubs now. Because I understand IT hubs and IT companies are more, say for example, footloose in nature. Very easily, say for example, they started moving towards what? The rural setup as such. Right. Somewhere when I talk about, say for example, means companies like Zoho. Zoho is one of the most promising emerging IT companies of India, Zoho. And Zoho primarily operates from almost say for example tier 4 or I would swear it mostly a rural setup called as what Tenkasi, a place called as Tenkasi. Almost say for example, though Tenkasi is a town, somewhere I understand say for example the surrounding regions largely it is what the rural setup, right? One of the most or one of the largest growing IT companies of India actually it is operating from what a remote location, largely a rural base. Okay, right. Other locations also I have just taken it. Kerala, you have multiple hubs starting from Thiruvananthapuram, Kochi, Calicut, etc. Okay, right, my dear friends. Now, some of the very important IT hubs of the world. Sorry, excuse me. In India, we talked about largely it is the metropolitan, right? The larger cities of India. Somewhere we are just finding it is becoming an IT hub, right? Climate plays a very, very important role in determining the locational aspect of these industries. Okay, right. Right, my dear friends. Now, coming to the last question of the day. This question, at least the three discussion I have just taken this question, but we are not able to cover this right question. So today also I have just kept this question as a kind of a surplus question. If time permits, we thought of discussing it. Okay, now somewhere I am just taking this question as a part of the last paragraph of geography. Critical changes in the right water bodies in general. Okay. Whereas, say, for example, interlinking of river can also come in. Deglaciation, reglaciation, glacial retreat, etc. can be asked. Right? Critical change in the, say, for example, surface waters can be asked. Right? Somewhere, Under the head, I'm just taking one question. Explain the feasibility of river linking projects in India. Right? If successful, what can be achieved through this? Two questions are there. Number one, explain the feasibility of river linking project in India. How far it is feasible? Number one, I have to answer it. Number two, if it is feasible, if it is successful, what can be achieved through this? See, actually speaking, the examiner indirectly says that it is feasible. Explain the feasibility they are asking. Second part of the question, they are saying it is feasible. Because, say, for example, if at all if it is successful, what can be achieved means somewhere they believe it can be successful. Okay. So we'll talk about the feasibility of it. Okay. Now, interlinking of river envisions transferring water from water surplus basins where there is flooding of water, right? Flooding to the place where I have a water deficit basin where there is a drought scarcity, right? Through inter-basin water transfer project. See, somewhere, see, India is climatically diverse. There are few places where you experience constant flood. Now, say for example, Delhi is submerging under flood. Junagadh, yesterday we had a cloud burst. Again, there was a flash flood and urban flood. Right? Plenty of places we experienced flood. We are experiencing flood. Basins, right? Let me not only take, say, for example, the names of the specific locations. Few places, I have surplus of water. Surplus of water is again a problem. Flood is also a problem. Another place, I may have a deficit of water. So, what is the ultimate objective? What is the primary vision of, say, for example, interlinking of water? As the very first paragraph says, it is all about transferring the water from water surplus basin to the water deficit basin. Right? Obviously, if that is the case, it should be inter-basin water transfer project. Now, see, normally if you ask me where I'll be having the surplus water, the northern plains of India are endowed with surplus water due to the presence of perennial rivers originating from Himalayas. See, perennial, why exactly these rivers are perennial? They have a dual source. They are fed by glaciers. India being a tropical country, even during summer, days of the summer, right, daytime of the summer, I'll be having this glacier that is melting. The rate of melt of glacier may differ, but melting of glacier is what? Very evident, right? In the sense it is very normal throughout the year. So these rivers, which is somewhere flowing in the northern parts of India, originating from Himalayas, Himalayan rivers, they are perennial rivers. But when I talk about peninsular part of India, they are seasonal rivers. Because of this season, only during the monsoonal time they'll be flowing. Largely, rest of it, they may largely remain somewhere dry. Right? Or the level of water that is flowing is not very, very less. And of course, say for example, the peninsular rivers are known for drought. They're known for water deficit nature. Extra peninsular rivers, the northern rivers, Himalayan rivers, they are known for surplus water. Okay. So the National River Linking Project, formerly known as National Perspective Plan, envisages the transfer of water from water surplus basin where there is flooding to water deficit basin where there is drought scarcity through interbase basin water transfer project. I'm repeating it, but only thing is that I'm just telling you, right? This is what is the objective of National River Linking Project as such. Okay, now first I'll talk about the benefits. Benefits, if at all, say for example, right? If successful, what can be achieved? I'll let talk about it. Feasibility also, let me talk about it. Concern, I'm just talking about the feasibility. Now, benefits. Hydropower generation benefits. If I just talk about hydropower generation, it would generate additional hydropower, which will help, say, for example, which will be helpful in fulfilling the commitments to what the Paris climate deal as such. For example, particularly when I talk about peninsular rivers, hydroelectric power generation to be on a constant side, the continuous flow of the water should be there. Right. Number two, benefits. If at all, if say for example, the peninsular rivers and northern rivers are interlinked, right, throughout the year, navigation can happen. As it would address the low levels of water in the southern Indian rivers, it would provide year-round waterway connectivity. It will reduce the cost of transportation and the level of pollution and help in what economic development. Because see, we have different modes of transportation: air transport, rail transport, road transport, water transport. Among them, which is the cheapest mode of transportation is water transport. And transportation cost plays a very important role in determining the price of any commodity. If that is the case, if river becomes navigable, that is the, say, for example, vision with what? National waterways are being developed. As of today, we have 111 national waterways. Until recently, before 2016, we had only 5 plus 1. 5 was operational, 1 was under construction. Now, if you ask me how many national waterways are there, 111 national waterways are there. River navigation. What does he say, for example, purpose of somewhere setting a target of developing 111 national waterways, if you ask me, reduce the transportation cost. Right? Once you reduce the transportation cost, the price of the commodity will what? Get reduced. Very important, irrigation basin, irrigation benefits. See, India, even today, the majority of the population is engaging in what? Primary activity. Agriculture dependent activity. If that is the case, my dear friends, interlinking of river will increase the country's total irrigation potential, preventing some of the surface runoff into the sea as such. So by irrigation, right, it can facilitate, or somewhere the agricultural production and productivity can also what? Increase. This project can solve problems of drought and flood. Surplus flood, if surplus water, if I'm removing it, flood can be prevented. Right? That water I can use it for what? Drought proofing. So not only it mitigates flood, it also mitigates what? Drought. Okay. So because at the time needed, the time of need, the river which caused a flood can give water to the areas of the river which have shortage of water, because of the water can be stored or water can be transferred from water surface area to deficit. Ganga and Brahmaputra region can rid of floods, and that comes every year with the help of this project. Okay. Now comes the feasibility concern. Everything is fine. On papers, it is looking very good. If it is feasible, if you ask me, we'll talk about it. Perennial rivers are not so perennial. The new analysis of rainfall data reveals that monsoon shortage grows in river basin with surplus water and falling in those scarcity. Right? The rate of flow of water is not so constant. Federal issue. When I talk about federal issue, states issue. Right? The spirit of federalism is ignored in the river linking project. Say, for example, so many problems we have. Even say, for example, rivers like Kaveri, rivers like Mahanadi, rivers like Krishna between Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, plenty of, right, riparian states, say for example, they have, say for example, this river water dispute. Okay. So naturally, even before, say for example, interlinking of river, we have this river water disputes. If that is the case, this interlinking of river can increase more number of such disputes. Okay. Not only between the states, it can also raise the tension with the neighboring countries. For example, Bangladesh being a lower riparian states, 21, Brahmaputra eventually enters what? Bangladesh. River Tista eventually enters Bangladesh. River Ganga eventually enters Bangladesh in the name of Padma. Right? So, n number of, say, for example, rivers of India, in the eastern side, Bangladesh is the lower riparian state. If that is the case, say, for example, right, if you start diverting the water of Brahmaputra, right, Bangladesh and India's relation can also get what? Affected. Okay. And further, India will be less likely to pressurize China on its version of the interlinking of river. This will eventually affect the lives in northeastern state. Number two, very, very important. This should be number one. High environmental and economic cost. High, unimaginably high. Unimaginably high. The economic cost. And environmental cost, my difference. Lot of, say for example, almost loss of habitat, livelihood will be resulted because of what? Interlinking of river. The interlinking of river projects, which is a subcontinent magnitude, will incur a huge economic cost. Moreover, it will harm many ecological factors like delta formation, growth of mangroves. See one thing, if somewhere the water that is confluencing or drained by Brahmaputra, if it starts, deltaic region, if it starts somewhere reducing, the delta formation will get affected. Not only that, sea wave erosion or the sea means somewhere sea erosion and intrusion will also what? Start increasing. Because when the deposition of the river starts decreasing, sea wave erosion will start increasing. Okay. And one more thing, my friends, one very important fact I would like to add it. If you ask me, how far it is feasible, possible to link the Himalayan rivers versus peninsular river, if you ask me, it is practically difficult. Why? Because Himalayan rivers, most of the Himalayan rivers are already flowing in what plains? Only 200 to 300 meters above mean sea level. But peninsular rivers, they are already flowing in what? Elevated regions, plateau. So, when I talk about surplus water is somewhere located in the low-lying area. Deficit waters and deficit rivers are located in the elevated region. Pumping the water against the gravity again involves what? Lot of cost. Okay. And ordinarily it is not possible. Okay. So coming to the conclusion, interlinking of river has its own pros and cons, but given the economic, political, and environmental implication, it may not be a wise decision to carry out this project at a centralized national level. Instead, what exactly we are following now, interlinking of rivers may be pursued in a decentralized manner. It means it is not inter-basin. What is advised now is intra-basin, right? Say, for example, within one single basin, within one single state, you can have the connectivity of the rivers. Okay, decentralized manner. More sustainable ways like rainwater harvesting should be promoted to mitigate floods and droughts. Okay, so somewhere when I talk about inter-basin river linkage, when I use this word called as inter-basin river linkage, inter-basin water transfer, somewhere largely it is discouraged. Intra-base water transfer, it is encouraged. Ken and Betwa is a classical example of it. Right? Right, my dear friends, this is the agenda of the day. We have taken it. Somewhere we have completed the same. Tomorrow, with few more questions, we will discuss on the same.